Recording is on.
Okay, cool. So let's look at the problem now. Here is the problem statement, right? So it is like this, right? We will give the matrix will be given, right? And the matrix has zeros and ones, and also there could be some other numbers. It's not only just zeros and ones, right? So what we need to do is we need to just why I said similar to Candy Crush is like, if you in the Candy Crush, what we do is we will crash the blocks based on the colors, right? If you make the green and green, all the greens on the left, on the horizontal and also vertically, they will collapse, or they will smash. So similar to this, it's like, I will say, if I say zero, all the zeros, if I wherever zero is there, that entire row and that entire column needs to make as zeros, right? So if on the middle zero here, that's why the second row and second column becomes zero, right? So we need to traverse the matrix and update the matrix. It says in place. In place means like we don't want to use another matrix. They are clearly saying don't use another matrix to do this. You can change the existing input. That's what it says. In place means it's okay to change the given input matrix. Don't use the extra matrix. Okay. So here is the input and here is the output. It's a double dimension arrays, right? So in the second example, you can look at here, right? Like one, only two zeros, right? So by looking at the first zero, right, you can make the entire first column zero and entire second column zero. Now, there is another zero on the last, you know, in the last in the first row. So the last row and last column will become zero, right? So look at the color differences here. These are the given input zeros. The only two zeros given. So since you converted one and two becomes zero, that doesn't mean you need to make the second column and third column also zeros. No, because those are not the input zeros, right? Similarly, the zeros before 4, 0 before 3, those are the zeros you made it. That is the tricky part here. So only consider the zeros that was given in the input. Okay. So let's assume that, like, if you found the first zero and you are making the entire column zero, entire column, so like 1 2 became 0 and 0. Okay. Now when you look at the second value here, it is 0. Then you thinking, oh, let's look, like, let's say you looked at the first zero. Okay. And you made the entire first row and first column zeros. So 1 2 became 0 0, 3 1 also became 0 0. Now you're looking at the second value, which is 0. Oh, we found second 0. Let me make the second column also 0. Then 4 and 3 will become 0 zeros. Isn't it? That is the problem here. So while you navigating or while you checking, you can make the column and the row zeros, but that will create additional problem. So here, how can we differentiate the given zero versus the zero you put it there? Here this guy clearly putting that the purple and the blue, right? But how do you know that purple is the given zero and blue is the zero you put it as part of the algorithm? When you're running or when you're checking algorithm, it cannot differentiate, isn't it? There is no color input here. So when you're checking the second zero, you should not make the 4 and 3 zero zeros. When you're checking the third zero, you should not make the 5 and 1 zero zeros, because the top zeros are the not the given zeros. Similarly, the zeros below the first zero, right? The zero before 4 and zero before 3, you should not make the entire second row and third row zero zeros, because those are not the input zeros. Is it is it clear what I'm saying, or I'm trying to
Yeah, yeah,
explain the
got
problem?
it, Suresh.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, Suresh.
So how to solve this? Basically, we need to identify
I have tried.
by
Yeah.
looking at the input. We need to identify first. Oh, okay. Let's scan the matrix and find out what columns we have to set to 0, what rows we need to set to 0. That's the first thing we have to do, isn't it? We need to scan it. Don't do it. Don't make the values to 0 immediately. You need to scan and you need to save that information, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then
Yes,
do it.
Suresh.
In the
Like I
second pass, you can do it,
tried.
right? So, how to do that?
Like I
Mhm.
have tried like one approach, but
Mm, yeah.
so
What
like
is the
I was
other
thinking, so like so we will use two for loops like to traverse like each element of the matrix,
one? Okay.
and whenever we find we find any cell is zero, then we can know which row and which column it will be like,
Yes.
and then we will make all the elements of that particular row and column like vertically and horizontally multiply that elements with -1. Like I thought of
Multiply with
doing this,
minus 1. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Okay.
and like we will do this like with complete metrics like,
Okay.
and then we will again run two for loops
Okay.
to replace all the -1 with 0.
So, basically, you're
Sorry, all the
okay.
negative numbers with 0.
Okay. Negative numbers with 0. Let's say the given matrix has negative numbers. Then what you do? The given matrix, let's say in place of
uh,
5, in place of 3, here you have negative number. Oh, that becomes positive if you multiply with
right,
-1. Interesting, interesting.
right, that will create a problem.
No, no, no. I think it won't create problem. Let me under. Oh, yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah. If the given input 4 and 5, 1 and 3, you should not touch any of those, right? Here 4, 5, 3, 1. Let's say here -4, -5. Then you thinking, oh, this is negative value. This is we need to set to 0. So you're going to set 4 and 5 also set to 0. If -4 and -5 is there, right?
Right.
That is the problem with that solution. There is no
And one more
there
thing,
is
like
no
I
condition that
tried
only
this.
positive numbers, right? Just integers.
Right,
It could be
right.
negative numbers too. Yeah,
And as you see in second example, so we have zeros in our first row only.
yeah.
So once we will make all the numbers negative, and then we make all the numbers again negative, then they will be positive.
What?
So
Mm.
like in the first row, there are two zeros in example two.
Yeah. So you are making one. The one on the top, 1, 2 becomes -1, -2, right? And 3, 1
Right,
also -3, -1 on the first column.
right.
And then what you do when you find the 0 on the last 0, you make the 2 and 5 on the last column -2, -5. Yeah.
But my algo runs from like zeroth index only, so it will like create like it will run till zero index to end of the row and end of the column like.
Yes. Okay. Then anyway you have to make 2 and 5 here also becomes minus values, right? When you find this 0,
Right, right,
then you're going to navigate that column, that row and that column, and you're going to make this 2 and this 5 becomes -2 and -5. Then in the second loop, you're going to replace all those with zeros. That's fine. But if the given input 4 and 5 is also minus values, then you're going to set 4 and 5 also zeros.
right, that will create a issue,
That
yeah.
will create an issue. Okay. Any other idea, Venkata or Tarun?
Yes. If we consider example two, first we got a first cell as zero. So
Mm-hmm.
we change one as zero and two as zero.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to do means like before changing only we need to check whether the value is zero or one,
Okay.
zero or other number. If
Okay.
the value is zero,
Hmm.
Then we need to do again, like we need to change the row and column as
Oh,
0.
okay. So basically, so while setting them, you are going to navigate that column and row. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, let me give my thoughts, Suresh.
Yeah. Before that, let me tell you what the problem with Tarun's idea. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
So if I understand, Tarun, you are
Hmm.
going to do like this, right? Basically, okay. Can someone tell me the numbers? I'm going to draw here. So how many numbers we have? It is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, right? Okay.
So
So
you are taking which example? One, two.
second one. Let's take the second one. Can you tell me the numbers?
0120
Okay.
3452
Okay.
1315.
Thank you. So now, so Tarun, what you're saying is, if I understand your logic correctly, what you're going to do is like this. I think you scan this zero, and then while you're setting the entire column, entire row zero, you will find, is it zero? No. So then you set to zero, isn't it? Is this zero?
Hmm.
No, set to zero, isn't it? Now what you're saying is, hey, I found
Yes.
a zero. Then let before doing anything, let me set the entire column to zero. You want to set this to zero and this to zero, right?
Yes.
Now you're done with this column, you're done with this element. Now
What?
what you do, you go to the second, and then you're going to scan this element, right? Then you found a zero.
Yes.
You found a actually, you need to do one more thing. Sorry, with this element, you scanned the row. You need to scan the column. You need to navigate this column also, right? You need to set this to zero, this to zero, isn't it? Now you're
Mm-hmm.
done with this.
Then the
You are done with this element. Now you start the second
yes.
element. Now the second element is zero. Let's set the entire row and the entire column. These two also become zeros, isn't it? which,
Yes.
which is wrong, right? We don't want to change 4 and 3. We don't want to change this 5 and 1. So when you scan the third element, you found the 0, and you're going to set this to 0, this to 0. Then entire matrix will become 0. So now
Yes.
you understood the problem when you set immediately, without, like, you didn't
Yes. Got
scan the entire matrix. You're just setting. When you find 0, hey, let's make the entire column and entire row of 0, 0, 0, zeros. The problem is, when you scan the second element, you don't know whether this 0 is a given 0 or the 0 you placed it, isn't it? We need to only consider the zeros given in the input. Like, whenever the algorithm started, wherever the zeros are there, those columns and those rows, we need to smash it. You understood the problem with the approach?
yes.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, don't change the matrix in the first go. In the first go, you need to identify only. You need to identify, hey, which are the columns you need to make zeros, which are the rows you need to make the zeros. That's what Modit was tried. Modit tried by multiplying in with the -1. That's a one approach, but that is also failed, because if the given numbers also minus values, you don't know whether that value is a negative value set by you or given in the input, right? So that is the problem with that approach. So now, definitely this is the way to go. First one is, you need to scan the entire matrix without changing any values. You need to observe. You need to scan the matrix and save some information. And then the second go, you need to make the value changes, changing the value. So that is the algorithm. But what you're going to save and how you're going to save, that is what we need to figure out. Okay. Go ahead, Venkata. I think now you have some idea. Go ahead. What we do? I think you are on mute if you want to talk, Venkat. Yeah.
Yeah. Suresh, they can just two 1 second. You continue.
Oh, okay.
I
You're
have like
outside. Okay, okay.
just
Cool. No
yeah,
problem. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Modi Tarun, you guys understood the problem in your approaches?
Yes, Suresh.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So you can just give a thumbs up so that I can also like use the what is that? We have those symbols, right? That is also good. Yep, yep. So now let's fix it. Let's fix how to solve that. Like, what is other approaches? Any other approaches? So let me put the index values as well. Oh, it's so messy. So let me let me write it again. Okay, can you tell me one more time?
0120
0120
3452
3452
1315.
1315. Thank you. So now what I'm going to do is for our reference, I'm going to set the indexes. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2. Right? So these are the indexes of the matrix. Isn't it? So any idea? Shall I continue with the actual algorithm? So how to do this?
No, Suresh.
I can.
Can you give any hint?
The hint is, as I said, I just already gave the hint. Basically, you need to scan the entire array and save some information. That information will tell you when you're scanning next time, hey, should I make this element 0 or not? Should I make this element 0 or leave as it is? So let's say I can give you a hint here. So we need to save that information. Okay, you need to save that information. Now you are scanning second time. Okay, you are scanning second time. You just assume that you are at this location. You are at the location 5. You need to decide whether you change the 5 to 0 or not. What you are doing by looking by, so what information will help you? So now are you going to set 5 to 0 or not? Tell me. By looking at the matrix you can tell easily. Do we need to change
No,
5
we
or
will not.
huh?
No, no.
No.
Why? Because there is
Because there is no zero in its particular row or column.
exactly. So when you are here, there is no 0 on this column, and there is no 0 on this row in the given row. Basically, there is maybe you might already change something. You might already change something here to 0. You might already change something to 0 here. We don't care, but in the given matrix, not this matrix that you already have right now. In the given matrix there is no 0 in this column. There is no 0, sorry, there is no 0 in this row. There is no 0 in this column. That information, if you have that information, you can decide whether to set this value to 0 or not. Okay,
Right, right.
so can we save that information? How to save that information? We need to save that information. So at any point of time, if I say I and J, okay, I is basically the row number, right? And J is basically the column. Is I so is I is part of the information where it's set I throw equal to 0, set jth column equal to 0. So you need to save that information. If you have that information, you know whether I and J you need to set zeros or not.
So we can save the, suppose we take few, suppose we take array and we can save the particular like row number and a column number which contains 0.
Exactly. That is what we need to do. Exactly. That is the exact answer. So you can there are two things here. You can actually, as I said before I will tell you there is a slight solution before that. So what you can do is, I know that is not a good that is not the given or the approved solution, but here is the solution what we can do in the initial step. Think about like this. Okay, so think about, if you can if you can if you can create if you can create another matrix, right? So if you can create another matrix, you can simply put the values. There is no problem here. You can, hey, if you found 0, oh, let me put 0 0 0 0 0 0. That's what it is, right? Basically, let's say you no need to do the in place. Just assume that you no need to do the in place. You can create the entire new matrix. This is how to do. Very easy. Very, very, very easy, because you found 0 here. You know that output has all this particular row and column becomes 0. Now you scan 1, you leave it because it's not 0. You scan 2, you leave it, you don't need to do. Now you scan 0, hey, you found it. Then do like go reverse way and set the zeros. I know it's already zeros, but I don't know whether you set it 0 or not. So from here, go in a reverse way and set the zeros, and go in this down way and I'll set the zeros. Okay, now 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 what you do is 3 here. Okay, here it is not it's a 3. So it's already 0, you don't need to do anything. Now it's 4, let's put 4. 5, let's put 5. 2, it's already 0, don't make 0 to 2. If it is already 0, don't do it. Now 1 here, so it's already 0, don't do it. Now 3 here, it's not 0. Let's say this one has a integer dot min or something, so that you will compare. So let's put 3 here, 1 here. So it is possible to easily possible. It's simple if you can use the second matrix. If the input says you no need to do the in place, then it's very easy. This is a basic solution. You can take the entire matrix, and you can, by looking at the each number, you can set the values, isn't it? I know it's easy to do,
Right, right.
I know, but still again you need to write couple of loops, because if you encounter 0, you need to set the zeros in that row, you need to set the zeros in the column. It's a tricky, but you can do it. But here the problem is you are taking the entire exact number of elements. If I say order of n, the again the space complexity is also order of n. You are taking another n elements. Okay, and this time complexity is good. Actually, you are just scanning only n, only one, only once. So order of, let's say, n plus m, of course not n, because n means number of columns and m means number of rows. So order of n plus m, order of n plus m. So it's very good. But now they said you should not use the second matrix. They said you need to do in place. So how can we do in place? That is the problem. You need to, like, it's not possible to solve the problem. It looks like it's not possible to solve the problem without using some extra memory, isn't it? Without using some extra, because we need to store that information, which column need to set to 0, which row you need to set to 0. So that information you need to store. It's not a simple boolean or integer. You need to store all that rows and column IDs, right? So you need some data structure to store the information. You need to have some data structure. What data structure will help you? So
Yeah,
what data
map
structure?
kind of thing.
What is that? Map. You're saying map?
Can we use map?
You can definitely, map will help you. So that is one data structure. So how do you do with the map? What you store in the map? So let's say you're scanning this input array. Okay, so now you found a 0 here. What we need to store? We need to store, make the numbers of column 0 and column row 0. Row 0, column 0 need to set to 0. That is the information you need to store. So in the map, what do you want to store? So map has two things, right? I think it's a dictionary has map. I think dictionary has key value pairs. If you are just taking map, it will have only keys. So do you want to take dictionary or do you want to take map, or which one? Key value pairs.
Yeah, I think it would be better go with the key value pairs. Right?
Okay, what are you going to store in that key? What is the key and what is the value you want to store?
Um, Key would be the index,
Mm-hmm. So index is 0 here.
like 0, 0. Yeah,
Oh, 0 0 means that's like
yeah,
you want to store a tuple, not just integer. So basically,
couple. Yeah,
key
correct.
is a
Yes,
tuple. Yeah,
correct.
key is a tuple. Each tuple has tuple, what we call tuple. Like tuple or tuple has
Yeah,
two values. Okay, you want to store the column and a row index. Okay, and what is the value?
value would be actual value, like whatever
Actual value. You want to store
that
all
cell has.
the number. You want to store all the numbers in the map, or I'm trying to understand. So, okay, I will put the value 0. So, what you do with the when you scan the second one? What you do with the map? So, you found 1. Are you going to update the
Yeah.
map or no?
No, we cannot update the map.
Or
If
you
I
don't?
update the map, the next.
Okay, basically, you don't add this number to the map, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I think. Yeah,
Okay. Now you found 2, and you don't add 2 to the map. Now you found 0.
correct.
Okay. What you do
Mhm.
now? You going to say 0 comma 3 is
0, 3 and value.
value is
Yeah,
0. Okay. Okay. This way you will update the entire matrix. So now there is no other
correct.
values that you put in the map. You done scanning with the map, right? You done scanning with the array because there is no other 0, right?
Right, that's
Yeah.
right.
Now what you do in the second, you're done scanning. Now in the second loop, like a second loop in the sense second time, now you are scanning the array again, or the input again. So what you do with that? What you do with the map? So how this information
Uh,
is helpful? Yeah.
so since we found the what cells has zeros,
Okay.
that
It's good actually. I think we can solve this problem. So now let's say now you are yeah. Now let's say we are at the number 5. Just assume that you are at the number 5 and that location. What
okay.
is the value of that? This is row 1 and column 2, isn't it? Row 1,
Yeah,
column 2.
1, 0. Yeah, 1, 2.
1 comma
1,
2.
2.
1 comma 2. So now you check whether that is part of the matrix or not,
Map or not.
or what you
Yeah,
do. Basically, it's not in the matrix and you leave as it is. But what about if you are at the 2?
correct.
If you are at this 2, then what is the value here? 1 comma 3. Okay, but you need to set that to 0, right?
Oh, that becomes
Yeah,
0. Yes,
how do you
right, right. Yeah.
determine how to, so how do you determine that you need to set to 0 there?
So in that case, we can update the map, the map which we are having dictionary are saying that uh, we can add extra the tuple 0, 1, 2, comma 0. I think, am I right?
But how do you know that you need to set this to 0? I know this we need to
Yeah,
set to 0 because you're looking at the 0 on the top, but when you're running the algorithm, right?
correct.
when you're running the algorithm, how do you know that you should not add 5 but you need to add 2 to this map? You found the problem there, right?
Yeah.
So when you're running, I know by looking at here 2 is below the 0, so you know you need to add somewhere in this here. But for algorithm, how do you know that? So there is a little bit tricky with the map. You may able to solve it, but it is creating little challenging here. It's a challenging problem because you are having a tuple here, and it is little bit trickier to solve with the map. It could be possible. I'm saying like it's not a bad solution. There could be a ways to do it. What you can do is you need to scan each and every element of the map before adding this. Then you can figure out like one is in the is one is this index is part of this any of this map elements, or is this index is part of the map? You can do something and figure out, but it is a tricky solution. It's a little bit challenging or
Yeah.
complex.
Right.
So should I reveal the simplest solution or any other ideas? I will reveal. Okay, I think we already discussed enough time, I think. Should I
Yeah.
go ahead and explain the simple algorithm, Modit, and give thumbs up if you are ready, or if you want to think and tell me. Okay, I got one thumbs up. I don't know who gave that. I got second, third. Nice, cool. Okay, so let's talk about how to save this information. Okay, so instead of map, what we can do is we can use two simple arrays. Two simple arrays. Okay, it's not double dimension arrays. Come on, it's tough to erase this. Okay, what we are going to do is actually you can also do with map. It looks like it's a very simple map. We can use it, but here we solve with two simple arrays. Yeah, I took two arrays and okay, actually it's not arrays. It's a map only. I used hash set. Sorry, I think hash set. So here, I think it's almost like the solution what Venkat said, but instead of tuple, what I'm going to do is I will use two hash set. Hash set. I don't know what exactly we call in other languages. Hash set has only some values. It doesn't have only keys. Basically, only keys. It doesn't have any values. Okay, it's just like another stack or queue, but hash set gives a zero order of one retrieval values, right? Retrieval complexity. You can find with order of one complexity. Hey, is it in the matrix or is it in the hash set or not, right? So here we need to use additional data structure for sure. As we discussed before, we need to store this information. We need to scan it and store the information. But what data structure will help you? We have bunch of data structures, right? Arrays, stack, queue, another hash table, hash set, another matrix. We don't want to use another matrix, so that's why matrix using matrix is out. Now you can use either stack, queue, or hash set, or dictionary, or which is like hash table. You can use any of those, right? So hash set will solve the problem. So here is how to solve it. Okay, what we need to do is we need to scan the matrix. We need to scan the matrix, and whenever you found a zero, okay, whenever you found a zero, you need to let's say like this. Whenever you found a zero, you need to say that this row you need to set to zeros, and this column you need to set to zeros. Whenever you scanning second time, you no need to worry. You just need to set this row and this column to zero. That information we need to store. Basically, you need to store these index, and you need to store this index. This index in the rows, this index in the columns. Basically, let's take rows as one set, hash set. Hash set is something like this, right? Hash set has only keys, it doesn't have any values. And columns is another hash set. Okay, it's not a matrix, it's not array. Hash set is a special data structure that will give you, you can put the information with order of one complexity, you can also retrieve the information with order of one complexity. So very easy. So I don't know whether are you guys used hash set before? Give a thumbs up if you know it, otherwise I can explain about it more. Tarun, are you clear
No,
about?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know about hash set?
Uh, so like I have used set in Java, so
Yeah,
we
I think
can we
that's
can
what it is.
store only like
Keys.
okay, so we can't store any duplicate value in set
Exactly,
set.
exactly. You can't store duplicate. It's just a key. If you have key value pairs, that is hash table. In a C sharp language, here is the key and here is the value. Keys are unique, and values you can store anything in the values. You can store objects. You can store integers,
Multiple.
right? That's a hash table in the C sharp. We call hash table, which has keys and values. But if you have only unique keys, that's called hash set. I don't know in other language. Maybe in Java it's a set, right? This is set, right?
Right, Suresh, right.
Yeah,
Yes.
set is an interface, whereas hash set is a implementation. So we call as hash set
Oh,
method.
hash set. Okay, hash is a set
Correct.
is an interface,
Yeah.
and hash set is the keys. Okay, hash set. And if you have keys and values, do we call dictionary in Java? I think if you have keys and values,
Hash map.
hash map.
We
Okay,
will call it as a hash map.
hash
Yeah.
set and hash map. I need to remember this. HM, HS and HM. So okay, hash map. Now
Yeah.
we are not using hash map. We don't need hash map because as I said, we need to store what rows you need to set zeros. And similarly, we need to know what columns you need to set zeros. We need to store these numbers. Let's say 5, column number 5, column number 10, column number 100, and row number 5, row number 6, row number 99. So you need to store this information distinctly, and you need to store this information distinctly separately, and that's it. We don't need to store any other column, right? We just values. So that's why let's go with hash set. So now what I'm going to do is in this hash set rows, I will put I because you need to set the ith row to zeros. Similarly, I will put jth column you need to set zeros. So I'm storing that information in a separate two hash sets. Okay, whenever you scanning the numbers, I'm saying, hey, you need to set this row to zero when you're scanning second time. Let's put that row number in the rows hash set. Similarly, this column number in the columns hash set. This is calls. This is rows. So you put those. Whenever yeah, okay. So let's go with the input and set it. Are you clear what we are doing here? Give a thumbs up if you understood
Yeah,
this.
sir.
Okay, so now
Yeah.
when you scan this, right, let's start scanning. Okay, I found zero here. Now I will put I is zero, the row is zero and column is also zero, right? Now I will scan number 1. This is not 0, leave it. 2, this is not 0, leave it. Now 3 here. Now here I found another 0. So what will goes into rows? In the rows, what we need to store? We need to store
Zero.
0, which is already there, right? So basically,
Right.
so you don't store another 0 here because it doesn't allow the duplicates, right? So you will check whether 0 is there. If 0 is there in the rows, don't worry, we no need to do anything. But what we are going to add to the calls, column hash set.
3.
Exactly. You need to store that column value, the index of the column. Tarun, are you following? Venkat and Tarun.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are storing that information, right? Now let's scan the entire array again. In the 3 is not 0, 4 is not 0, 5 is not 0, 2 is not 0, 1 is not 0, 3 is not 0, 1 is not 0, 5 is not 0. Done. We are done scanning the entire array. Now you need to traverse the array. You need to traverse the entire array. So now here is the logic. When you are scanning, when you are traversing the entire array, right? So you need to check the hash set. So how do you check the hash set? Is like this. When you are at this location, like this is ith row and jth column, when you are at this particular cell, you need to know whether you need to set this value to 0 or not, isn't it? You already have that information. Now you are scanning again second time. Now you are at this particular cell where the value of the row index is I, column index is j. You need to know whether you have to set this value to 0 or not. What you do? Simply you need to check whether this I is in the you
Hasn't
which which
set.
which has set. You need to check I in which has set.
Rows, row asset,
Exactly. This is your I is row and j in the columns. So
column. Yeah.
what is the condition here? Either of those found. Either, it doesn't matter, right? If you say I throw equals 0, if I exist here or j exist here,
They exist. Right.
isn't it? That's the condition here, right? So you're storing, hey, set this row to 0 or set this column to 0. That's the information you are storing there. You are storing that information. That means if this I exists in rows or this j exists in columns, then you set the 0 because you already stored that information. Make this row 0 or make this column 0, isn't it? So that information you need to know.
Yeah.
Tarun, are you following? It's our condition,
Yeah.
right? So that is what we need to do. Simple. I completely explained the problem. Basically, you need to scan the entire. Now what happens is, let's use another color here. I already used many colors. Let's use this green. Yeah. So now you are scanning 0. You no need to check the value here. That's what it, please note that you no need to check whether it is 4 or 10 or 100. You no need to check. We already did that. What you all need to do is you need to check whether this index and this index is part of the rows column or this column is part of the columns map. What all you need to do is just to check these indexes in the map. You don't care what the value, you already scanned the values. So now you start the first cell. Is 0 0 is there? 0 is in the rows. You don't need to check the columns. Set the 0. Now you are at the one location. Now is row 0 is existent rows? Yes. Make this to 0. You are at the 2. Is 0 exist in rows? Yes. Set to 0. Now you are at this second 0. Is row 0 is in the rows? Yes. Set to 0. Now here you are at this location in the 3. Is column 1, is row 1 exist in rows? No, it's not there. Now let's check J. Is column 0 exist in columns? Yes. Now set to 0. Now 3 becomes 0. Are you guys following so far? Now you are at the number 4.
Yes.
Now 4, what is the index for this 4? Index for this 4 is 1 and 1, isn't it? Now you check, is 1 in the rows? No. Is 1 in the columns? No. Don't change it. Don't change 4 to anything. Now you are at the 5. 1 and 2. Is 1 in the rows? No. Is 2 in the columns? No. Don't change 5. You need to see at least one. You need to see either I in the rows or J in the columns. It's R condition, right? So you need to see at least either the row exists in row set or column index exists in col set. If you don't find any of those, don't change the value. Now you are at this 2, 1 comma 3, right? Now 1 in the rows, no, but 3 in the columns, 3 in the columns, right? 3 in the column has set, isn't it?
Yes.
You already stored that information. Make the values of the column 3 to 0. That is the information you stored. Make the values of the column. This is the value, third column. Make the values of the third column to 0. So this is third column. So make the 2 to 0. Isn't it? Now this becomes 0. Similarly, you do the same thing. Now for this one, 2 comma 0. For this second row, right? So 2 comma 0. So 2 is not in rows, but 0 is in the columns. So set this to 0. Now 3, 2 comma 1. 2 is not in the rows, 1 is not in the columns. So don't change this 3. Now here 2 comma 2. 2 is not in the rows, 2 is not in the columns. Don't change this. Now finally 2 comma 3, which is last element. 2 is not in the rows, 3 is in the rows, in the columns. So set this to 0. So finally we found 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Simply that's what we want, right? So 4, 5, 3, 1, we did not change it. Give a thumbs up if you completely understood the algorithm. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. So you know full algorithm. Now you should be able to write it. If I give you 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes, can you guys write it?
Yes, Suresh. Yeah.
So I can also show, if you guys are very comfortable, like do this, like I'm going to show algorithm now. So when you're practicing tomorrow or day after tomorrow, anyway I will send the link of my code, but don't look at the solution. Okay, since I am going to explain now, you will have that solution or the for loops in your mind. Try to write on your own before looking at the solution. So this is the algorithm, so which we just discussed. I'm going to show now. So here is the input: square matrix 1, rectangle matrix 1. I don't know what this is. Oh, square and rectangle. Why it is square is like 3 by 3, and here is the rectangle. So there are two use cases, right? It's kind of, our algorithm need to work for square matrix and also need to work for rectangle matrix. It's n by m. So there is no input saying n by n. So it could be number of columns could be different than number of rows. That's why I took two matrices. It's kind of two use cases, right? So here is the input. I'm just printing the input first and then set matrix zeros. This is the actual algorithm. So this is just a normal matrix printing. I'm going to collapse this. Here is the actual algorithm. So complexity analysis. I want to know before sorry, I'm already showing here. What is the complexity here? Can you guys tell me the complexity of this algorithm? The time complexity is?
I think the first thing is we are storing into
Time.
uh,
Yeah.
we are storing into time complexity. When it comes to time complexity, we are storing into two sets
Yeah.
by traversing the entire whole matrix. So that means it is like a kind of O of n, big O of n.
No, we have n and m. N is number of columns and m is number of rows. So
Oh,
then what is the you have to say
Of implicit.
you have to say using n
of
and m.
n plus m.
N plus m.
So
Okay.
basically, we are
All the elements.
traversing.
If you are scanning all the elements, what will be the algorithm or what will be the time complexity? So here,
We go
Order of
n into m.
n
yeah,
into m.
here the n is number of rows 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, and number of columns is 4. So 3 plus 4 only 7 times. Are we navigating only 7 elements? No, right? You are navigating all 12 elements. 3 into 4. So order of n into,
Yeah, that's correct. N into m. Yeah.
And
you are traversing all the elements, right? So it's always like n into m. That's order of course we are traversing 2 times. You guys need to say order of 2 into 2 into n plus, because you are traversing one time and to create these sets assets, and then you are traversing again to make the values, to change the values. But it doesn't matter, 2 into, 2 is a constant value, so you can neglect the 2. You can simply say order of n by m or n into m, isn't it? So you can always, while saying the complexity, you can always neglect the constant values. Now let's look at the space complexity. What is the space complexity of this algorithm? How much extra space we are using?
So
Yeah.
we are using row length plus column length max.
Exactly,
Like
exactly.
if all are zeros.
Yeah. So at the max, we will use n plus m, because how many elements, how many spaces we used in this algorithm. In this algorithm, only just a 1 here and only 2 values here, just 3 values we used, only 3. It's not even 7. N plus m is 7 here, but at the max we use all the rows. Let's say you need to put all the values of every row need to set to 0, and every column you need to set 0. Then definitely rows will be filled up with all the 0 1 2, and columns will fill at 0 1 2 3, right? So at the max, this is always like the complexities is always at the worst case or the maximum case. At the max you will use n plus m storage. This is time complexity tc, and this is space complexity sc. Okay, is it clear, Tarun? Or just give a thumbs up if you guys are clear about
Yeah.
it. Okay, time complexity and space complexity, so that's what it is. So time complexity is order of n by m or n into m, where m and n are the number of rows and columns respectively, and space complexity is order of m plus n. Okay, so now here is the actual algorithm. So first what we need to do is, so just we got matrix, and here is the way to know how many rows and columns. So get length of 0 in C sharp. This could be in a different method in Java or any other language, I don't know. So you need to figure out, if you are comfortable with other languages, find out how to find the what is the method to find the number of rows and number of columns. Okay, in a C sharp, this is how to do it. Get length of 0, it will give you the rows, and get length of 1 will give you the columns. And now here is the hash set: row indices with zeros, 0; column indices with 0. That's the name I put. It's an integer hash set. Essentially, we mark the rows and columns that are to be made zeros. Okay, so we are having I and j, just going through the entire matrix. We are simply saying, if matrix of I comma j is 0, we are adding I to the rows index, and we are adding j to the column indices. So very easy, just to add. So add will take care whether the value is also part of the hash set or not. If the value of I is already there, it won't add it again. If the j is already in the set, it won't add, so it will eliminate duplicates. We don't want to add duplicates, right? Yeah. Hey, someone joined here. Hey, welcome to the class. May I know your name?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Taufik by name.
And can you spell it? Can you spell it again? And
Taufik. Taofeek.
oh,
Taufik.
okay, okay, okay. Welcome to the class. And is it first time you figured out this one, or first time you came to my class?
Ye- Yes, this is my first time joining this
Very,
platform.
very good, very good. Welcome, welcome to the class. Basically, we start at 7:30 PST. I don't know which time zone. Where are you from?
I'm from Nigeria.
Oh, India. It's 9 p.m. actually. It's a 9 p.m. start. Yeah,
I'm from Nigeria,
Nigeria.
Africa,
I don't
Nigeria.
know. I don't know what time zone it is, but you know, is it India time zone? Nigeria. I don't know.
Yeah, it's 5:40 here, 5:40 p.m.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So basically, we start a little bit like 7:30 PST, and you can figure out your timings. So we are almost like half of the discussion. We are talking about this algorithm today. So are you part of
Wow.
any of the Discord groups? I have three Discord groups. I don't know whether you part of a. So from where you got the information or the link?
Yeah, I'm one of the group. That's the on Discord.
Okay.
The market OpX group on Git
Oh,
on
okay.
Discord.
So you got the link from someone else. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Welcome. So if you have Discord, ping me. I will add to one of these groups so that you will get every weekly links and weekly information and all the recordings. So I am also sending all the
Yeah.
YouTube recordings. Okay. So ping me
So
on
I'll
the.
see that. I'll see that.
Okay, thank you. So here is my ID 3410. That's the my Discord ID. You can note it down 3410, and you can ping me so that I will add to the groups, private group. Okay, awesome. So this is what we are discussing today. We are discussing about the setting matrix to zero. So once you find a matrix, and if there is any zeros, you need to set that column, entire row and column to zeros. Okay. So found zero here, we are setting the entire column to zero and entire row to zero. Okay. And here is the second example. There are two zeros here. So the entire row and entire column and entire row, we need to set to zeros. Okay. So we had some discussion how to solve the problem, and we just said like we need to use two hash sets. So to store that information, rows and columns. So that's what I'm explaining the problem here. Okay. So basically you will scan the entire matrix and you need to add the indices. So if the matrix of I and j is 0, so you need to add row index to the row indices, column index to the column indices matrix, or the hash set. Okay. And here is the second, iterate over the array once again, and using the rows and calls hash sets, update the elements. Very simple. Same I and j, two for loops. And here is the thing. Row indices contains I. If I is part of the row indices, or this is the or condition in C sharp. I use C sharp as my language. So if j contains in the column indices, it's just a or condition. If I contains in rows, or j contains in columns. If you are saying, hey, make the row I set to 0 or make the column j set to 0, then you need to say either of those is true. We need to set I comma j equal to 0. We don't care what is the value of this particular element. We don't care because we are doing second time. We already scanned the values. So now we are going to set to 0. Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone? Just give a thumbs up if you are clear on this. If you have any questions, unmute and ask me. I got one thumbs up. Okay. Okay. Hey, go ahead. You raise your hand. Please go ahead. What is the question? Yeah, unmute and ask the question. Oh, you lower your hand. Okay, cool. I thought you understood the algorithm. Okay. Is it clear?
Yeah, Suresh.
Awesome. So now there is actually a second approach where we can use very efficiently zero order of one space. I think there is another efficient solution. Order of one space means without using these hash sets. How? It's mind blowing algorithm. Like without even using this, how can you do it? We tried, actually we tried and failed, right? Before even coming with this approach, we thought of navigating, we thought of, I think Modi said multiplying with -1 or something, but that those are all things we tried without using any extra space. We failed it. We failed doing it. But in the lead code they discussed about it. Actually, it's so interesting. So there is a, if you go to that solution section, it's not my solution, somebody posted, there is actually a way. I don't know whether it's really successful. There is a way to solve this problem without even using extra space. That's what they explain here, space efficient solution. So here is the idea. So rather than using additional variable to keep track of rows and columns to reset, we use the matrix itself as indicators. Basically, they want to use the matrix, the given matrix itself. So the idea is that we can use the first cell of every row and a column as a flag. This flag would determine whether a row or column has been set to 0. This means for every cell, instead of going m plus n cells and setting it to 0, we just set the flag in the 2 cells. So here is the idea. I gone through this. It's kind of a little bit tricky. There is a video also there, but there are some issues with that. So what they are saying is basically, so here is the given input, right? Here is the given input. So in the above animation, we iterate the cells and make the corresponding first and row column cell increase of the value with the set to 0. So basically they are using the first row and first column as a way to store the values, or way to store the information. Okay, it is tricky. So what they're saying is, why we need extra storage? Why can't we use the first row and first column, okay, as a way to indicate? Let's look at this video. Oh, okay, it's I think it's a breakout room 1 now. What happened? It says breakout room 1. I don't know who made this breakout room. Just a minute. Can you guys hear me? It's showing on the top saying breakout room. Hey, can you guys hear me? Hello? I don't know why. Let me stop the sharing. Breakout room 1.